So this is all about a book called The Fifth Season by N.K. Jemisin. I think she's an American woman, um, and it's the first in a trilogy, which means three books, and it's kind of fantasy, science fiction, futuristic kind of book. It's quite a thick book, and it tells the story. Well, I don't want to give it away, but it has sort of like three what we call protagonists, three main characters, and we're following their lives through uh, through this mystery world, which is a different world from Earth. And on this world, they have many earthquakes, like we do in Japan. But it's called the fifth season. I can't remember when it is, every 20 years or something, there's a really big disaster and the whole world destroys itself and starts again. And so all life on this planet is about getting ready for the big disaster and trying to survive it. And in this world, um, there are people who have psychic powers who can control earthquakes with their mind, but they are also dominated. That they have to serve a sort of elite, a group of like priests and high priests who control them. So it's kind of there's lots of different issues. There's also ancient spaceships, so very old spaceships that are floating permanently in the sky, and nobody knows why that happens. And so the story is quite complicated, but it is interesting. It's been a while since I've read this, about a year or more than a year. And Yeah, it's hard to describe what kind of book it is. It's a fantasy, I guess we'd call it, a bit like Lord of the Rings. Do you know that? And fantasy, it's sort of fantasy and science fiction. Science fiction is where science and rational thinking it plays a key part, usually set in the future. Fantasy is where magic plays a key part more than fantasy. Sorry, more than science. So, yeah, so trying to decide what this book is. I guess it's mostly fantasy because this psychic magic mental power plays an important role. But they do have spaceships, and that needs scientific ability as well as magic. What else to say about it? It won an award as being best science fiction or fantasy book uh, a few years ago. And also, I think a lot of the characters are a lot of the themes are about racism and sexism and the way people judge other people. Like in this world, the people with psychic powers are harassed and hated, even though they have great powers and they can save people. So it's about justice and an injustice, and it's quite a complicated novel. But anyway, I don't know. I don't know how that compares with Japanese fantasy or science fiction. I don't actually know any Japanese science fiction stuff. I guess most of that would be anime and manga. You would know better than I. So I'd be interested to hear about that, probably. Um, okay, I have three questions. Have you read any long fiction or series of books? This is quite a long book, and there's three of them. I've only read one. Number two, do you know any other books or movies concerned with the climate? Yeah, so this book is about climate change, kind of, and very radical, sudden climate change. Do you know any books, excuse me, about climate change? Because that is the big issue of our age, I would think. Finally, number three, do you believe in psychic powers, magic, mental abilities, like telepathy and things like that? Do you believe in psychic powers? Okay, that's all I have to say. Thank you very much, and we'll I'll see you the next time. Okay. Bye bye.